Hello, everyone. Good evening. You typically see me on a Monday, but we're here this evening on a Wednesday. You're here with Dr. B and C3 with Dr. B. This evening, we're going to have a conversation about PSATs, but before that, we'll talk a little bit about some summer programming that you might have the opportunity to take advantage of if you're here in North Carolina. And I'd also want to encourage you to look statewide wherever you happen to live to find out where there may be a particular opportunity for you. But before we begin, let me share my screen with you. So, one of the things I just want to focus on this evening to begin this evening with is asking you, what are you grateful for today? I think it's really important in these trying times and with all we've been through the last few years to really think about practicing gratitude on a daily basis. Today, I'm grateful for the life of Janae McCulloch Boyd. Janae was a colleague of ours in the Independent Educational Consultants Association, and we recently lost her. So I am grateful for the light that she brought into this world. And I also want to say, send a prayer out to her husband and to her children. So, again, it's really important to practice gratitude daily. With that being said, make sure if you're here that let me know where you are, where you're from, who you are, if you choose to do so. It's always nice to know who's out there listening, whether you're listening live or whether you're listening on the replay. So we will be back. I will be back because, as you can see, I'm here by myself this evening, but that's okay. We'll be back in about 10 seconds. Okay, as we come back now, again, remember, I really want you to all think about what it is that you are grateful for today. And anybody that's out there listening, put it in the comments. What are you grateful for today? I'd really love to hear what people are feeling today and what they are grateful for today. So, anytime that you want to, throw that in the chat. So, we'll move on to a couple of things here. So, one of the things I've talked about the last couple of weeks is what are people going to do for the summer? How are you going to use your time? Colleges do particularly care about what you're doing extracurricular activities, some more than others. And the reason for this is because they want to know how you're going to show up on their campus besides going to classes. Are you going to be involved in the different student clubs and activities? Are you going to be involved in athletics? What is it that you're bringing to the campus besides going to class? So this is a program that is from UNC Chapel Hill. And let me just tell you a little bit about it before people say, well, this is only for folks in North Carolina. So this program, actually, the application opens up December 15th. So it's not open yet. So you're getting a preview ahead of time. So it's Project Uplift and Project Uplift Plus. Project Uplift is just one day, and it's open to students throughout the United States. Okay, so Project Uplift is not just for North Carolina students, whereas Project Uplift Plus is for North Carolina students only, and I'll talk about that a little bit more when we get to the next slide. So as you can see on the screen, it's a summer enrichment program, so students get an opportunity to spend a full day on UNC Chapel Hill's campus. They have anywhere from 200 students a year when they do this program, and they have 22 student counselors. So the student counselors are typically current students at UNC Chapel Hill. And as you can see on the screen, those are the 3 dates for the full day programming. And again, as I said, this is open to students outside of North Carolina also. There is a small fee of $35. And I think there are scholarships available. I know there are scholarships available for Project Uplift Plus. Not sure about Project Uplift, but that's certainly a question that you can ask when you reach out to the coordinators. As you can see there, you can see the time. This is for rising seniors only. So this year's current juniors, so that might be a little confusing saying it that way. So if you are a current junior, the class of 2024, this is for you. This is who this is available to. And there is an application process. They do a holistic review, which means they look at every part. They read your essays. They look at your extracurricular activities. You do have to send in a transcript, so the academics are important. It is really important for me to point out that acceptance to this program and attendance at this program does not guarantee admission to UNC. Okay, let me say that again. Going to Project Uplift or Project Uplift Plus does not guarantee admission to UNC Chapel Hill. So, because a lot of times when students are going on summer programs and they're on a college campus or they're affiliated with a college, sometimes they think that that gives them a leg up in the admission process, and it does not. So that's something to ask as you're looking at different summer programs. Make sure you understand that, get clarity on that. So ask those questions. Now, for Project Uplift Plus, this is the residential portion. So this is where you have to be a North Carolina resident. And as you can see up there, it's for 2 weeks. You can see the dates on the screen. There is a fee. It's $1,200 with a $100 deposit. There are scholarships available. So I strongly encourage anyone in North Carolina that is interested in attending this 2-week residential program on the campus of UNC Chapel Hill that you apply early as soon as applications open up, which again is December 15th, next week. So you have time to start getting your stuff together so that you can apply for that scholarship. Program costs are non-refundable. So for example, if your plans change and you've already paid, that money is non-refundable. So please have those conversations to make sure that you're available to go during this time. As you can see, you'll hear back by April 2023. So get those applications in as soon as they open. Again, transcripts are required, not report cards. A transcript is required. And when you go to the website, you'll be able to see all of the other information, and you'll also have the contact information so that you can get more details about what this involves. Now, here's a sample schedule for Project Uplift Plus. Remember, this is the portion where you have to be a North Carolina resident and you will live on campus for 2 weeks. So it's, as it says, the application goes live on December 15th. And you can see here some of the activities and opportunities that are available to students during this time. So first of all, you move in on a Sunday and there's a welcome dinner later that evening. And then you actually get to try your hand at some, essay writing. You learn a little bit about different offices on the campus. And as you can see, every day there's something where you're talking about essay writing. So every day there's a 90-minute essay writing opportunity, except for the weekend. You'll get headshots, group photos. So you'll have that for your keepsakes. There's a cultural competence workshop. Now remember, this is a sample schedule, so it may not look exactly the same. So this is the schedule from a previous summer. So these are some opportunities and some things that you may have a chance to do. There's an adventures challenge course. That would be really cool to find out what that is. Now, people may be saying, okay, so what about if I don't live in North Carolina? This is where I'm encouraging you all out there to do your research. Find out what your state offers. Look at your flagship schools. So, for example, if you're in Rhode Island, what does the University of Rhode Island offer to students? There are 10 colleges in Rhode Island. Check on their websites and see what kind of summer programs they have available to students. Whatever state you live in, you can do this research and you can do this yourself. I'm just highlighting what we have here available in North Carolina. So as I said again, Project Uplift Plus is residential, so it is strictly for residents of North Carolina. Applications do go live. You see the URL there in order to find the application information. So another program that's available for students um, that actually has multiple dates throughout the school year is the Governor's Page program. So as you can see, this is a program where students get introduced to government and learn a little bit about it. Now, again, this is strictly for North Carolina students. What I encourage all of you out there in other states, find out what your state government offers you for summer programming. If you do some research, do some digging, find out who you need to contact, you'll be able to see what is available in your state. So I'm giving you an example of what's available here in North Carolina. So I certainly hope students out there will see what's available in their state for them. Now, the application process is open already for this Governor's Page program. You have to be a North Carolina junior, senior, or a recent graduate in order to apply to this program. Now, the neat thing about this is you have different options. You can be in person or you can be virtual, and there are days available from January all the way through December, the end of this year. When you go into your application, you'll be able to choose the dates that are of interest to you. So the sooner you do this, the better off you are, because then you might get first pick for what you're looking for. It's a 4-day term. So if you do apply to this and you're accepted, you're expected to participate for 4 days. And you also have to give a list of your extracurricular activities, but you'll see that. So this is why I'm always telling folks, what is it that you're doing for extracurricular activities? Because other programming, such as this or other scholarship programs, may ask you about your extracurricular activities. So it's the type of thing that you can't retroactively do some extracurricular activities. So you should be doing something, right from the start of high school, even in middle school. What are you doing? Middle school students may be in band, they may be in other clubs or activities, they may be in Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts. So think about this is again why it's important to have some extracurricular activities that are of interest to you, because there will be opportunities to share that information. And for example, we see here this Governor's Page program is interested in how you use your spare time. Now, one of the neat things about this is, it's not, just fill in your name and address and give them some information. They really want to know, what is it about you that should make us choose you for our particular programming. So again, here are some questions that are part of this particular application. 4 short essays, minimum of 100 words, which means it needs to be at least 100 words. It can be more. Why are you interested in serving as a page? Love this question. Do not apply to this if you have no idea what a page does and you really have no interest in it, but it just seems like, oh, maybe this will look good on my college application. No. This is for people who are really interested in finding out information about their government and looking for information, learning information in the areas of history, civics, service, and professional development. So those are the areas that are focused on with this particular Governor's Page program. Again, this is for North Carolina students. How do you imagine the program benefiting you? So what are you going to get out of it? How are you going to use what you learned in this program? So you need to be able to answer that question. What is the most important quality in a leader? So it's nice to have this, so you can start practicing these answers, because some of these questions are similar to some of the supplemental essay questions that you may see on applications in the future. Describe what you consider to be your biggest success so far. So this is your opportunity to brag on yourself. So again, here's an opportunity for students to get engaged, to find out how their government works, to find out more about civics and history as it relates to their state of North Carolina, if you're here in North Carolina. So for those that are just coming on, I'm strongly encouraging students to reach out and see what their state governments have to offer for them in the way of programming. You can find more information on that URL, and you can see the flyer there. The person that you would contact if you're here in North Carolina is erin.foot@nc.gov. Erin has two N's, and Foot has an E on the end of it. I'll make sure that you have this information in the show notes, but you can also always go back and look at the video again and get that information. So let me move on to the next. PSAT results. So as you can see from this map, PSAT scores have been released. This is the timing in which they were released. So everyone should have their test scores. Now, I know there's always incidents of where students didn't get their test scores, something happened. Please talk with your school counselor to help you in getting access to your PSAT scores. So I worked with some students today, and we spent a lot of time just making sure that they could access their PSAT scores on the College Board account. So again, that's a URL that you can go to, and you know what? You can always just do a search and just do, PSAT score results, and it'll take you to the website that you need to get that information from. So typically, when schools get the paper document with the reporting on the students' PSAT scores, we get a 4-page document for each student. Students can download that 4-page document, but more importantly, they can go online and get a full report that covers a lot more than what's on this 4-page document. But just for tonight's purposes, I want to show you just the highlights, and so you can see what's there. So this is like the first page of a student's report, and one of the first thing it tells you is that if you want to get your full score report online, you just go to psat.org/myscore. Now it's going to ask you for username and password. If you don't remember that or if you only remember one of them, then you can go, then you can click, forgot username, forgot password. Now, what happened with us today in school is that as some students were trying to do that, they were telling them that they didn't recognize their email. So a couple of my students had to create a new account, and so they're going through the process of that. So anybody, anytime you create an account, write it down. Write down the username, write down the password. So whether you have a notebook that's dedicated to that, or you have a Google Doc where you put all your usernames and passwords, but somewhere where you can retrieve this information later on when you need it. And what's important about this first page, if students have it, is that you see there are a series, there's a student ID on there, there's an access code, and there's the College Board ID. So those are all numbers that have been assigned to students. The access code will help you when the students are connecting their test scores to Khan Academy, which I'll talk a little bit about shortly. So on the second page, this is what students get to see. So you get to see what your total score is. And as you can see, the PSAT is scored from 320 to 1520, whereas the SAT is from 400 to 1600. So the scales are just a little bit different, but comparable. This particular student, whose name is I'm a student, very clever there, College Board. This student scored 960, and you can see the breakdown that on the evidence-based reading, the student scored 430, and on the math score, it was 530 for a total of 960. This puts this particular student in the 51st percentile, which means this particular student, Ima, scored higher than 51% of the students that were taking it on that day. Now this happens to be, let me just go back one. Yes, so this is her PSAT NMSQT. So this is one for a junior. And as it says here, she's in the 11th grade. So for all juniors that took this test, took the PSAT on the same date as Ima, she scored 51%. She scored better than 51% of the other students nationwide that took this particular exam. Now, before a student say, "Oh my God, I don't know if I like that score," or "What's a good score?" Let's not even worry about that yet. Um, Colleges do not see your PSAT score. Okay, this is a score that you see, your school district may see, your school definitely will see. Sometimes the College Board will send this information on to certain scholarship services, so that if you're within a certain range, particular scholarship organization may reach out to you and encourage you, when its time is appropriate, to apply for a scholarship through their organization. So again, you get your evidence-based reading and writing score, and you get your math score. And I think one of the most important things that it says on here is that this is one day. This is one particular day when you took this test. It's not a measure of how far you can grow. So if you're not satisfied with your score, um, possibly test prep will help you raise your score, but don't get so caught up in, "Oh my God, look at your score compared to mine." Everyone tests differently. I know I was one of those people. I was not a good standardized test taker. If I had to take the SAT today and it was required at colleges that I was applying to, I would probably be applying test optional. So again, don't get so caught up in the numbers just yet. So for juniors, you want to pay attention to this. You want to look at your scores. You want to think about, what is it that I need to do in order to improve my scores. Um, Definitely, again, make sure you go online and get your full report, because you want to be able to use all of that information to your benefit. It gives you more information on there as far as how well you did with the benchmarks. If your score is up in the green section, that means they're showing that you're college ready according to that particular score. Um, if it's in the yellow, that means you're almost there, you're on track. And if it's in the red section, that means you got a little bit of work that you need to be doing. This is the third page of the 4-page PDF that counselors receive. So it's giving you more information. So it's telling you what other things are online for you. It does talk about, because, the College Board is the owner of the AP exam. So of course, they're going to tell you whether or not, it'll tell you here whether or not you're ready for AP exams according to this test score. And then when you go online, it'll talk about the different AP courses that you may be able to sign up for if your school offers these AP courses. Then number two, it talks about scholarship opportunities. So again, this is why it's important to access your full report online, because you get a lot more information there. It'll tell you about different scholarship opportunities. It'll tell you more information about the National Merit Scholarship Program. You can also earn some scholarships through Big Future, so go on there and check that out. One of the things I really like is where you can connect this particular assessment to Khan Academy, and you can create a personalized SAT study plan based on questions that you missed. And you'll see on the next page where you'll be able to see what questions that you missed. Khan Academy is probably the best free test prep for the SAT. Now, the caveat here is you have to be self-motivated in order to go on there and use it fully. But if you're someone like me who came from a family that was low income and we didn't necessarily have the money for test prep, or we really weren't sure about how to go about doing that, this would have been a godsend. But, again, you have to be self-motivated to go on there, set up a schedule, and really use it. I know students who have used Khan Academy faithfully on a daily basis, where they may carve out anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes to spend on it as they're working to improve their score and their test taking strategies by using Khan Academy. And again, juniors, you really need to be thinking about registering for the for upcoming SAT if that is your assessment of choice. I am recommending for my students to take the SAT, a full assessment, either in March or June. Some of my students are taking IB classes, some are taking AP classes. And for those of you that are familiar with the testing schedules for those two curricula, you know that students are taking assessments in May for IB and for AP. So I tell students, you stay away from May assessments for the SAT because you already have your IB or your AP assessment during that time. If you don't have assessments during that time, then you can certainly sign up for May. But go on to the College Board website, look at the dates. Please make sure you meet the deadlines, because if you register after a deadline, of course, there's a late fee. It's already an expensive test. So let's not add any more costs onto it. And in talking about expense, one thing I just want to point out to families that they may not know about: if you receive free or reduced lunch, and there are several other qualifiers that you can get from your school counselor, but I know being a recipient of free and reduced lunch, or other income assistance programs, your family, your student is eligible for fee waivers to take the SAT. So talk to your school counselor, find out what it is that you need to do in order to access these fee waivers. That way, you're not paying for the cost of these tests out of your pocket. Now, students, as you're signing up for the SAT, it's going to ask you if you want to also sign up for the writing portion. Please do not sign up for the writing portion because colleges don't use it. I can't think of one single college that wants to see that the writing score. If there's any, it may be just one, but I doubt it. So do not sign up for the writing test because colleges don't use that score. Save your money, okay? So on that right-hand side of that particular page, you see information about the National Merit Scholarship Corporation. This is information, again, when you go on to the full report, you'll get a little bit more information. Plus, you can always go on to their website at www.nationalmerit.org to find out more information about it. But when students take the PSAT, the only year that your PSAT scores may be eligible for the National Merit Scholarship Corporation is when you take it your junior year. So students that take it in 9th grade, 10th grade, even if you for some reason took it as a senior, you are not eligible for the National Merit Scholarship Program. So some of you will see next to your score an asterisk, and that asterisk is letting you know that you're not eligible. And it's probably because of the year that you took it. As what does that score mean? People want to know. Every state will have a cutoff score. We won't find out what that cutoff score is until sometime next August, early September. So what the cutoff score may be in North Carolina may not be the same thing in Rhode Island, may not be the same thing in Montana, may not be the same thing in New Jersey. So again, that's something we won't know that information until next school year. So ask your school counselor, or just go on College Board's website, or go on the nationalmerit.org's website to find out that information. This is the page that I really want students to pay attention to initially. Again, like I said, you always want to go on to that full report so you get even more information. So this gives your question level feedback. This is really good to know. So there are 4 parts of the PSAT. So there was a reading section, a writing and language section, math using your calculator, and a math without using your calculator. And as you can see on this page, this gives a summary of the questions and answers and how well you did. If there is a check in the box next to the in that one two, what's the third column where it says your answer? If there's a check in the box, that means you got that answer correct. If you see another letter in that box in red, that means that you answered it incorrectly, and the letter in red is the correct answer. The other thing that's interesting is it shows you your level of difficulty. So the level of difficulty ranges from easy, medium to hard. So you get an idea of the level of difficulty for the questions that you did well on or the questions that challenged you. And that's for each one of those sections. But again, to get more information on this, you really need to access the full report. And students, please have conversations with your school counselors. They're there for you to help you through this process. So make an appointment. So if your school counselor, if they're not doing a class meeting or individual meetings talking about this, then please make an appointment with your school counselor to ask them about your PSAT results if you took the PSAT. So that's all I'm going to talk about with the PSAT tonight, because it's a lot to go into, and you really need to access your scores, look at the report, and see what's there. Now, what would the next steps be? So one of the next steps that you need to do is, especially juniors, sophomores, whoever took the PSAT, if you're planning on improving your scores, think about doing some test prep. Tonight, I'm just going to focus on a couple of opportunities for free test prep. There is definitely opportunities there are definitely companies and test prep companies that you can work with for a fee. So as I said earlier, Khan Academy is probably the best free test prep. But you have to be self-motivated. It is self-paced. But again, Khan Academy has a partnership with College Board. So we know that the test prep that they have designed is very much in alignment with the PSAT and the SAT. Now, here's another resource that I don't think a lot of people know. So people that know me know how much I love libraries, and I'm always encouraging people to go to the libraries and use your local library. Many libraries subscribe to a database, to a online programming called BrainFuse. So we do have it here in Cumberland County in North Carolina. I was checking for a student in another state recently, and their library has BrainFuse. So check to see what kind of tutoring help your public library offers. Now, let me tell you a little bit about BrainFuse. So BrainFuse, of course, you need a library card to access the account. So what BrainFuse is, it's an online virtual tutoring program. And here it's available from like 2 p.m. until just before midnight. Other places, check the time in your locality. So one time I wanted to see exactly how did BrainFuse work. So I was working with a young woman, and I said, okay, she was having trouble with algebra, in particular with word problems. So I said, well, do you have a library card? And she did. I said, let's go on to Cumberland County Public Library's website and see how BrainFuse works. So we went on, she logged into BrainFuse. So a chat window pops up, and the person on the other end typed in, my name is so and so. What is your name? And so did those little quick introductions, and then asked, what are your concerns today? Or why are you here today? Or what problems are you having? Or how can I help you? So the young lady said, typed in that she was having trouble with algebra word problems. So the person on the other end typed in, and typed into the chat box, what type of word problem. So we kind of like typed one in because we had some examples ready from some homework that she had been doing. We typed that in, and a whiteboard appears on the screen, and the person on the other end wrote the problem, the algebra word problem, on the whiteboard so we could see that. So then the person typed into the chat box, okay, what are the next steps? And my student, put in, I'm not really sure what I do next. So the person on the other end was put in the next step, but at the same time, they were explaining why that was the next step. So they did that several times until my student felt a little bit more comfortable with word problems. But again, that's one way to access some free test prep through your local library. And that photo there, I was in one of our local libraries recently and happened to walk over to the section where the test prep books are. So again, go to your local library and you can check out free test prep books. Use your library. Your tax dollars are paying for it, and it's one of the best things that you can do in your community is to use your public library. So again, go to your public library and see what's there. And another thing that I didn't put up here that I sometimes encourage students to do, YouTube definitely has a lot of great tutorials. So sometimes you may be able to find someone on there who's doing some really good tutorials on the SAT or the ACT, depending upon what test you're taking. At this point, we're just talking about the PSAT. So these are just examples of free test prep. In the show notes, which should be done, by the end of this week, I'll also put in some companies, test prep companies, with their contact information that you could reach out to if you're looking for someone for test prep. So let's see what we have here. So you guys know me. I always have a book recommendation. What would it be if Dr. B didn't have a book recommendation? So my office assistant there, Grace the Diva, she runs the household here, is helping me with some of the books. So there are these series of books that I have fallen in love with. They're called A Kid's Book About, and then each one has a particular topic. So for today, because I started out talking about gratitude, I just want to, let me just go to the full screen here. Let's see. So you can see this. You can see this book carefully. Okay. So because I started out talking about gratitude, here's a great book to share with young folks. Now it says, ages like 5 to 9, but I'm a firm believer in that children's books have wonderful lessons for all ages. So I'm just going to give you a little bit of information about this book. So it's A Kid's Book About Gratitude by Ben Kenyon. And it tells us that Ben is a podcaster, an influencer, and he's a founder of The Unique Piece. He's a performance coach for the Portland Trail Blazers, and he lives in Portland, Oregon. So let me just read the very beginning of this book. I just think it's so neat. So on the intro, so every book begins with the intro, and then, goes through really nice way of explaining whatever the particular topic is. So this one, on this intro, it says, take 2 seconds and think about a basic need that is automatic: breathing. Do you stop and think about breathing, or do you just wake up and breathe? Do you have to work in order to breathe? Do you put any effort into breathing, or is it just natural? Let's practice breathing. Inhale through the nose and exhale through the nose. Inhale through the nose and exhale through the mouth. How awesome is that? This is so small and simple, yet this is one thing that gives you life. You walk because you're breathing. You talk because you're breathing. And smile, you guessed it, because you're breathing. Aren't you grateful for breathing? Gratitude is the appreciation of the small moments that make the biggest impact in our lives. So, again, great book to share with young folks. Great book to share with folks of all ages. So, this is the Book of Gratitude. There are a whole series of books. I just happen to have a few of the extras here. This is a kid's book about imagination. This one's by LeVar Burton. So for those of you who are fans of reading Rainbow, you might want to grab onto this one. And this one is about a kid's book about belonging. Now, so many students are concerned about finding their people and whether or not they belong with a particular group of folks and if they feel comfortable. So, here's a great book that you can share with folks, and a kid's book about empathy. So, I love these books. There are several more out there with different titles, but I definitely wanted to share these with you. Um, and they make great Christmas presents. So think about that. Kids' book about gratitude. So you might want to grab onto this book, read it, share it with someone. Oh, one of the nice things that it says in all of the books, this book is best read together, grown up and kid. And it says that on the front page of every single one of the series of these books. So, folks, that's really kind of all I have for you this evening. Again, as always, if you have any questions, I want you to make sure you let me know what you're thinking. Let's just see what's on this last slide here. You can always reach out to me for if you have additional questions or information. My email is Dr.B at stepstothefuture.com. My website is stepstothefuture.com. And if you'd like to subscribe to the newsletter, which I hope I can get out this weekend, I'm a little behind in some things. You just go to that URL, bit.ly/steps140, and you can subscribe there. And you can see past videos on my YouTube channel. It's easier probably to see it there than on the Facebook page. And you can see my full complement of office staff there. You see the diva there looking out the window with her partner in crime, Paulie Peanut. And then we have our two Rottweilers. We have Zeben, who is he's closest to the rocking chair. Zeben is going on 6 years old. That's our big baby. He's now 135 pounds. And then we have Cassius, who is 10 years old, who is very much my shadow when he's around me. So again, thank you so much for paying attention. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening, whether you're here live or whether you're listening to this on the replay. I appreciate you being here. And remember, every day, practice gratitude. Thank you so much. And hopefully I will see you next week. Take care, everyone, and be good.